Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Wednesday, the 4th of June, 2025, and today is 607 days since October 7th of 2023 and the attacks by Hamas on the south of Israel. We know that that day was not the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war or anything like that, but we do know that it was a day that changed history. An update on the aid supply to Gaza. The U.S. and Israel backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF, announced today that it would not give out any aid. It closed its sites for, quote, an update, organization, and efficiency improvement works, end quote. It's only been open about a week or so. The GHF also said it had asked the Israeli military to guide foot traffic in a way that minimizes confusion or escalation risks. And it is working on clearer guidance for civilians and training to support civilian safety. Separately, the IDF said that people would be prohibited from moving in areas leading to aid distribution sites, deeming them combat zones. Just to note, we have been having conversations at Churches for Middle East Peace about the notion of whether or not Hamas is stealing aid. It's one of the main reasons that Israel has said they don't want to send aid in. They also have said they've cut off aid so that the hostages would be released. It is an international humanitarian law. The distribution of aid cannot be used as a mechanism of warfare. That's a violation of fundamental human rights. So the question of whether or not Hamas is stealing aid and using it to finance its operations is highly disputed. Just this week, on June 3rd, the UN and its partners on the ground have repeatedly said that they have not seen any evidence to corroborate that claim. Last year, you may recall that U.S. aid head Samantha Power, she was the former administrator, said, "We're not seeing Hamas dictating where food is provided. I can assure you that if the government of Israel saw Hamas doing that, we would be hearing about it." She said that during a Senate hearing about a year ago, where she was questioned on the conditions in Gaza. In addition, at that time, David Satterfield, special envoy for the Middle East on humanitarian issues, quote, denied allegations that Hamas had stolen aid and commercial shipments into the enclave, saying no Israeli official had presented him or the Biden administration with any specific evidence of diversion or theft of assistance. Now, I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just saying that for that to be a major claim for why aid can't be distributed is bogus. And not only that, what about that should then justify making aid readily available? Because if aid was readily available, people wouldn't be so desperate for it. It would decrease, the fundamental principles of economics, right? Supply and demand. So all of that just really does not hold water. The GHF yesterday named Reverend Dr. Johnny Moore, a former evangelical advisor to the White House during Trump's first term, as its new executive chairman. Moore previously publicly backed Trump's proposal for the U.S. to take over Gaza. Management consulting firm the Boston Consulting Group last Friday terminated its contract with GHF. It withdrew its team from operating in Tel Aviv, and it placed a senior partner on leave pending an internal review. This is all according to the firm's spokesperson. BCG, the Boston Consulting Group, was hired last fall to help design the aid distribution program and to run its business operations. Sources say it would be difficult for the GHF to continue to function without BCG's support. So this whole humanitarian distribution thing has been a failure, a complete and utter failure. An Israeli strike on a school that became a shelter killed 12 people in Han Yunis today. Another 5 dead were brought to the Nasser hospital after midnight. And Israeli strikes killed 4 people in North Gaza, according to a spokesperson for the Civil Defense Agency and an official at Nasser Hospital. The UN Security Council will likely vote today on a draft resolution that demands an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, respected by all parties. Now, I didn't hear what happened with that, so we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Reuters reported on that. The Trump administration this weekend proposed a diplomatic bridge arrangement that would allow Iran, this is about the nuclear talks, to continue enriching uranium at low levels while the U.S. and other countries work out a more detailed arrangement or agreement. Iranian and European officials reported on that. Tehran on Monday indicated that they would respond in several days. Now, Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, today criticized nuclear proposals that would entail Tehran completely giving up uranium enrichment. Notably, Khamenei did not reject the possibility of a U.S.-Iran deal. You'll recall I talked yesterday about Steve Witkoff and about whether or not enrichment could be used for civilian purposes. Enriched uranium. In Syria, Israel launched its first airstrikes in nearly a month, stating it had targeted weapons that belonged to the Syrian government in retaliation for the firing of 2 projectiles towards Israel from Syria yesterday. The Syrian Foreign Ministry said the reports of shelling towards Israel have not yet been verified. And the U.S. Army, I talked about this yesterday too, said that they will scale down their military presence in Syria to only 1 base from the 8 that currently exist. This is shifting the U.S. policy in the country because, quote, none has worked over the last century. That was according to the U.S. ambassador to Turkey, who is also the special envoy to Syria. Thomas Barak said that yesterday. Yesterday, I also highlighted the situation that's unfolding at Mount Sinai, St. Catherine's Monastery in Egypt. And today, Churches for Middle East Peace put out a press release about this that elevates the statement of His Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros, on the threat to the Holy Monastery of St. Catherine in Egypt. So we said CMEP joins with His Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros. He's the Archbishop of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, in expressing deep concern and sorrow over the recent judicial decision by Egyptian authorities that threatens the property and spiritual mission of the Holy Monastery of St. Catherine at Mount Sinai. We elevate the powerful statement of Archbishop Elpidophoros, who rightly described the monastery as a testament to the enduring legacy of faith, scholarship, and interreligious harmony. For centuries, this sacred site, recognized as the oldest continuously inhabited monastery in the world, has stood as a profound symbol of peace and coexistence. Its unparalleled spiritual, historical, and cultural significance must not be jeopardized. CMEP affirms the importance of protecting the international religious freedom and preserving sacred sites through the Middle East. We call on the Egyptian government to uphold its long-standing commitments to safeguard the autonomy and sacred mission of the Holy Monastery of St. Catherine. We further urge faith leaders, policymakers, and international institutions to advocate for the protection of this unique and irreplaceable spiritual treasure. Alongside of Archbishop Elpidophoros, we call upon religious leaders, international organizations, and all people of faith to join in advocating for the preservation of the Holy Monastery of St. Catherine. Let us work collectively to ensure that this sacred institution continues to inspire and unite people of all faiths for generations to come. You can read the full statement by Archbishop Elpidophoros on our website. It will also be in our bulletin this week. I wanted to close with words that I received this morning from one of my dearest friends. He and his family are in Gaza, and I asked him for an update on how things are going in the enclave and for him personally. And this is what he said. For nearly 2 years, the people of Gaza have endured one of the most brutal genocidal wars in human history. The fear of being killed by an airstrike or tank shell is ever present. It's an ever-present reality. When or if this happens to a family, they are dismissed as mere collateral damage. But can such a label offer any consolation? Should we resign ourselves to death despite having committed no crime? Should we accept being seen as worthless, disposable losses? Can the terror of such a fate ever be ignored or even normalized? The truth about fear in Gaza is a paradox. People have reached the point where they no longer fear death. When it comes, their name will simply join an endless list of collateral damages. Yet the psychological toll is unbearable. Constant headaches, crippling body pain, exhaustion, sleeplessness, and the relentless anticipation of death. The dread of fatal injuries, amputations, or being buried alive under rubble haunts every moment. Forced from their homes, families now live in makeshift shelters of cloth, plastic, or in tin tents provided by humanitarian groups, if they're lucky. They watch as soldiers celebrate the destruction of their neighborhoods, their livelihoods erased without remorse. The indignities are relentless. Sharing latrines with strangers, waiting for hours just to relieve oneself, avoiding eye contact to spare any further shame. The worst form of humiliation, accepting these conditions as normal while fearing what degradation comes next. Survival now depends on tasteless meals from community kitchens where people wait for hours under scorching sun or pouring rain. Children, women, elderly, and the disabled all shoved together in desperate scramble. No one gets priority. Kindness means going hungry. Water is another battle. The sound of a tanker truck triggers a frantic rush where only the aggressive get their share. Gentleness means thirst. This is no accident. Humiliation is a deliberate tactic. To break dignity, to make displacement seems inevitable. Starvation is another tool, stripping away the last remnants of humanity. In recent days, starving families have walked miles to reach food aid, only to be shot at by soldiers. Some have heard mocking shouts through megaphones. Hungry Gazans, come get your food like dogs. Others were forced to strip while soldiers jeered. Where's the starvation? Look at how fat you are. Of all the horrors, nothing cuts deeper than humiliation. Some wounds inflicted in front of your children will never heal. No therapy can erase such trauma. This is not just war. This is the systematic dehumanization of an entire people. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Amen.